Welcome, everybody, to the newly rechristened 3Rs Sports Network. Tonight, we're running without one of the R's. I don't guess reading and writing and arithmetic matters tonight because, Robbie, our boy Raj is setting up in Indianapolis in a game right now that doesn't look like it's breaking his way.
Oh, I know. I haven't been to necessarily a tournament, but I've been to plenty of games like this where you are filled with hope, and it does not look like it's going their way thus far. I've been watching a little bit on it while we've been getting ready for this. Man, the Zags look like what they were built to be all year long, which is the best team in the country. They look really, really, really good.
So going off the agenda just a little bit, when we've talked about this, let's go back to the first time we all talked, even you and I, when we did the SEC show. I think everybody along the way felt like it was Baylor, Gonzaga, and everybody else. This has been an absolutely insane tournament, but we may end up with that matchup in the finals we've been talking about. Did they get it right as far as Baylor ends up with Gonzaga? Are they clearly the two best teams in the country?
Well, I hope Houston ends up in second place for my bracket. But I think you're exactly right. I think part of this tournament has been how head and shoulders Baylor and Gonzaga have been above everybody else, and then everybody else is just kind of regular, which is why we saw so many upsets and so much chaos in the first round. It's why you can have Oregon State getting hot and going to the Elite Eight, why you have UCLA a first four in going to the Elite Eight, maybe the Final Four, who knows. But I think it has been almost a college football feel to it, where it's like we knew from the beginning what the end was going to look like, and it's looking like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, it does have that feel. It's been a crazy set of circumstances to get where we are. Let's start with the Pac-12 real fast. The thing I think that when I was doing my show prep and sent it to you is the fact that Oregon State won 6 straight win or go home games. That's super impressive. You know, they're not getting an at-large bid. They win the Pac-12 tournament or they're going home. Is that the shocker, or is UCLA the bigger shocker?
I want to say Oregon State would be, but now if you see it's pending tonight's results, right. I think Oregon State went from a non-at-large team, really no shot, not even on the bubble, to getting in. We've discussed a lot about the Tennessee team they beat, but they beat probably at worst a top 3 pick in Cade Cunningham. Yes. Then went and beat a really, really, really good Loyola Chicago team, and then lost to Houston. And honestly, a game where I don't think I've ever seen a team rebound offensively that well. It was amazing. So I think they probably are the surprise, but I think UCLA is shortly behind. But and I don't have the stats off the top of my head. I know VCU did it from the first 4 to the Final Four. I don't know if we're calling them the first 4 anymore, but the first 4 to the Final Four. UCLA has a chance to do it. Tennessee's Conzo took Tennessee from the first 4 to the Sweet 16. I think there's at least something to that first game getting rolling before everybody else does.
Well, yeah, you kind of get the sea legs under you, and it's usually a tough game.
Yeah.
Oregon State really got on a roll, but now let's not sell UCLA short tonight. They play Michigan without Isaiah Livers. They're a 6.5. Michigan's a 6.5 point favorite.
And I bet on Michigan, so UCLA is very likely to at least cover.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were going to broach that subject. That one of us, not you, went 1-9 on their weekend this weekend gambling. So I don't think you did much better. So
hey, I finally won. I won a 2-team parlay last night.
Yeah, it was huge.
First win of the tournament.
But do you? So you think Michigan covers tonight, even without Isaiah Livers?
No, sorry, I bet Michigan to cover.
Okay.
And honestly, it was kind of an emergency bet. I was on the phone and I got lost track of time, and my buddy was like, "What are we taking?" I was like, "Okay, well, let's go." Both favorites. The Zags look good so far. I saw one where they were plus 360 for the 10 to 15 or 10 to 16 window. I really like that, but I couldn't find it on my preferred betting app, which until we get sponsorships, we're not gonna
no.
drop.
Yeah, but hey, if you want some sponsorship, what's that new one, William Hill or whatever? Hey, you need us. So
Yeah.
So go ahead and find us on social media. But yeah, I'm in a small 2-team parlay tonight, which was Gonzaga laying, and then Michigan laying, and I kind of like the under tonight. I don't know why. It was just kind of a gut feeling. So that's where I've put my few dollars that I had left in my account. So
the NCAA is, and I know this is a weird year, but man, these start times, a 10 o'clock tip last night was crazy. I mean,
asinine.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have money on it, I'm not sure I could have made it up, but I did. But yeah, I mean, that's just way too late for really no reason. You could start the game at 6 Eastern and the first game, and then been done 9 to 11.
Well, so you got Michigan tipping, and they'll probably tip somewhere in the 9:30 hour. That's Eastern time. You know, if I'm a Michigan fan, I'm not. If Michigan wins and it's 11:30 at night, I'm not going to bed till about 3 a.m. off of excitement. So,
yeah,
I get it. So let's take a step back, and we'll come back to this game. Let's go back to last night. I really thought it was two things that really jumped out at me, and you kind of said it: Houston's domination of the offensive boards at times, and Arkansas turning the basketball over. I really thought Arkansas had a chance in this game, but they really just didn't take care of the basketball. And then down 15, they kind of try to make a run, but they got too far down early, and just never was really in the game. Was that your take on it?
Yeah, and I think, and this goes back to the point, and this is kind of the whole theme of the tournament and the theme of this year about teams playing in their own conferences with their own conference teams to play against. In the SEC, Arkansas, maybe aside from playing Alabama, Arkansas could go stretches and turn it over and not make shots.
Right.
And they could do that, and they could still be in the game because the offenses were so bad. You play against a Baylor team that will not give you breaks. And that's what they ran into. They went through too many stretches where they just weren't good enough. And that ends up costing you, especially in a single elimination tournament like this.
It was a good tourney for Arkansas, but I do feel I feel like last night they were just a little bit overmatched. They met their level of competence last night, and I thought Baylor was clearly the better team. Now, if everything broke Arkansas away, there's no way they could compete in that game. But you're right.
Is this Musselman's second or third year?
This is his third year.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you get to the Elite Eight your third year in a taking over a Mike Anderson or was it? Yeah, it was Mike Anderson was for him. So the 40 minutes of hell, and so you're totally flipping around how you play. And quick shout out, man, Baylor's coach Scott Drew, what a job he has done there. I mean, talking about taking up the bottom of the barrel and getting in the Final Four, that's amazing.
You know, the the circumstances with Baylor athletics over the last decade might have been some of the most heart-wrenching, tragic things that's occurred. And sometimes I wonder when you step into a situation like that, and I was thinking about last night, has Scott Drew made this us against the world? You know, is it Baylor against the world? And
I mean,
that's the mentality he takes to the court every night.
you got to think he took over a program where, I'm going to say allegedly just in case, but I'm pretty sure I have this right. But allegedly, a player murdered a different player, right?
Yes.
On the same team. Yes. I want to say that's exactly what happened. But yes, I mean, how do you come back from that? And to have them in the Final Four, and they've really been dominant for the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. And also you got, not to football, unlike any other area of sports, college football, college basketball get intermingled. You know, it seems like they deal with the same AD and stuff. And you just had a huge scandal with Baylor football and Art Briles. And now, I mean, it's a really good story. And the thing I like about Baylor, they've got elite athletes, but they may not have the most elite athlete. That you don't see some of those kids are juniors and seniors and been through the program. And I think back to our reference, which is the University of Tennessee, you know, when we had Grant Williams and Schofield and Bone that played together for 3 or 4 years, there's a level of play that a team can get to that the one and dones just can't get there.
Yeah, yes. And I mean, I think it's really the pendulum swung. So it went from you build a team to then the Kentucky John Calipari method, and which Coach K accepted and really did probably better than Cal did. Oh, we'll bring in the most talent, we'll win. Then Jay Wright at Villanova comes in and says, "Oh no, we're building a team and we're going to have veterans." And now you look at these teams that are in the Final Four, and it looks like over the long haul, Jay Wright may be correct. And the way to still build a team is, I mean, unless you can, I mean, you'll never turn down talent. If you get five stars, you'll take them because it's better than not. But to win in this tournament and to win consistently, yeah, you need veteran leaderships. You need people that have been here before.
Big difference between a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the craziest question I've probably ever asked on this podcast since we launched 3 weeks ago. How good is Houston?
You know, I liked them. I liked their Ken Palm ratings. I like their offensive efficiency, their defensive efficiency. I like their rebounding. I like the bracket that they were in.
Right.
And Kelvin Sampson's a really, really good coach. He's had his run-ins, but hey, so did Rick Pitino, and no one would argue he's a really, really great coach.
I believe Sampson was at Oklahoma, Indiana, then ends up kind of his new lease on life at Houston.
Yes. I think he was an assistant in the NBA for a little bit when I think there was show calls maybe, so there were some issues. He was in the NBA for a while, then got back to Houston. Are they as good as Baylor? I don't think so, but would I be shocked if they won? No. The people in the post game were talking about how much Sampson teaches and preaches where the shot is shot from. Then you get your guys in the area where the most, I guess it's, analytics for rebounding now. You get your people in that position to get the rebound, and they'll give up a fast break possession on the other side if they can get the rebound, and that's 20 more seconds and 20 more seconds and 20 more seconds of shot clock that wears the other team down, foul trouble. It seems like he's really embracing the analytics of basketball.
So that's a good question. When I watch them play, it doesn't look familiar. It doesn't feel natural. Are they compensating a little bit for talent, or do you think, as you said, he's got something unique that he's coaching that just everybody's not caught up to him yet?
It reminds me a little bit of those two back-to-back Butler teams that went to the finals. It was kind of like, well, the first time was cute and like, oh, look at Butler, they Cinderella, and it's like, wait a second, they're onto something. They figured out some kind of metrics, and Brad Stevens is big into that, the analytics and the plus minuses, and people will say, some people love that, some people hate that stat, but it is what it is. I mean, if you score more with a certain lineup on, then that's better than the alternative.
Do you when you see stuff? I really love that Butler team, and it broke my heart that team did not get a championship. But as just an average fan now, both of our teams are out, and our friend Raj, it looks like, it's going to be out tonight. Besides your gambling interest, which I'm sure we'll all have a Finsky or so down on this game, the Final Four, do you just root for, do you pick a team, underdog? I mean, because it might be I pull for Houston because I still love Cinderella, and that kind of feels like Cinderella.
Yeah, so I'm more of a spiteful person. And so in this case, I don't want Michigan or USC to win because I compare those schools a little bit to Tennessee, and we were great in the 90s, and then in football and nothing much sense. And then Raj, as much as I like Raj as a person, do I really want someone to be happy? Like if we get together, like no. So mine is more of a spiteful.
Let's be honest. That group text is going to get awful uncomfortable for us if USC wins the national championship.
Oh yeah, and I'm all about what's comfortable for me. So at this point, I don't know any hardcore Gonzaga fans. I don't know any hardcore Baylor fans. I don't know any hardcore Houston fans. Even my sister went to UCLA, but I know some UCLA fans. I don't want them to be happy. So the less amount of people in my circle that are happy, the happier I am.
So if Chris Adams and Stu Brock's out there listening, you clearly understand why Robbie and I will never root for the SEC teams to win anything. So,
Alabama losing was the happiest day I've had in 2021.
So
I can keep my cell phone on for another couple of weeks. I was prepared to turn it off.
I mean, folks, I'm telling you, Robbie, if we ever need another job, that group text would definitely you could sell subscriptions to it because you just don't know what the next thing off of it's going to be. So is Gonzaga Cinderella?
Well, hold on. I don't get to answer all the questions. Let me ask some questions. Who do you think? Who are you hoping for wins it all?
I really, that was going to be my next question to you. I think Gonzaga it's been there so long, so hard, just at the door, that I really want to see them break through. And I compare it back to Marquette. Marquette is a school that for a decade or so was always on the door, always there, and finally broke through back in the 80s. And even Houston during the Phi Sigma Gamma, Clyde Drexler and the King Olajuwon era, those teams have been to the top, have seen it. I think Gonzaga is a school that I could sit here and watch win and feel good about it because they don't necessarily do it the same way everybody else does. I think they're the best team, but I'll be very honest with you. I think Baylor Gonzaga is going to be an epic game if that's what we get. I think that is two great basketball teams. And I think in a normal year that either one of those teams, say 3-4 years ago, would have won the title. In this year, I think we have two elite teams, and I'd like to see them both get there. I'm scared that Houston may have something for Baylor, though. I really think that they could.
And just a quick follow-up, and I don't know if you've thought about this, and this wasn't on our agenda, but I was just thinking of it as you were talking. Does the Pac-12's run in this tournament hurt Gonzaga in the long run? Because for the last decade, maybe a little less, Gonzaga's been the premier West Coast team.
Right.
Arizona here and there. But I think UCLA hadn't been to Final Four since 2008. And so does this success of USC, UCLA, Oregon State, does this start to chip away at some of that recruiting prowess? And they're the name brand if you want to play deep in March. That's where you go on the West Coast.
That is. I think the ones that I think where it hurts them, I always thought USC and UCLA got the kids they wanted. Until the last couple of years, I don't think Gonzaga was going head to head with UCLA and winning them. What I think this tournament does is reintroduce that second level, the Oregon States. Cal is a great basketball school that's fell on hard times. I've always thought Cal and Stanford have good programs. Arizona, despite their NCAA issue, traditionally good. I think a strong Pac-12 hurts Gonzaga. I believe you are right. Back when Florida State was an independent, they could just recruit. And in my head, what made Florida State finally join the ACC was Florida becoming a legit powerhouse school in their backyard that can recruit against them. I think the more schools that can recruit against Gonzaga, the harder it'll be. But it seems like Gonzaga is very creative with coming up for kids. Like they come up with kids I look at 2 years later because I'm big in the recruiting ranks. He was a 2-star who redshirted his freshman year that was overlooked and only offered by Weber State and Gonzaga, and somehow goes to Gonzaga and ends up being an All-American.
Yeah. But and the trick, what's going to be interesting is, like, as you know, is in recruiting, it's relationships. It's building them 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. And, the Zags just signed, if not their first, but one of the few 5-stars they have, the number 13 player in the country.
Yeah.
And so the freshmen, the sophomores, is that when USC, UCLA, Oregon State, is that when they start to come and chip away? It'll be just an interesting trend to look at 3 or 4 years from now, if this damage and if they can keep it roll, the Pac-12 can keep it rolling, if it does damage some of Gonzaga's advantage they've had.
The interesting thing to me, and what I was thinking about, and I'll throw this is off agenda too, does this refocus the center of I always felt like college basketball was a West Coast kind of feel to it. And I feel like it's been dead the last 5 years or 4 years. Does this really re-energize the whole West Coast basketball? And if it does that actually help college basketball to have a strong Pac-12? I think so. I think it's something that needs to happen.
Oh, well, 4 letters, UCLA. You can't talk about college basketball without talking about UCLA. And so them being relevant, them being, I don't know if so there's a difference between being good and being hot. And we'll see tonight. Maybe they run, but I mean, seeing them in the Elite Eight is a good thing. And that really helps. And I think the more the more eyeballs you have on a sport, especially college basketball, which and I know you feel the same way, it's sadly becoming a 1-month sport. And the more eyeballs that are interested, the more the preseason tournaments and the Maui Invitational, the Battle for Atlantis, the College of Charleston Classic, all of those things. The more that people are involved in those, the more people care, then the better it is for the sport. And large earlier you can get people interested. Then there's conference play, and it just builds more and more momentum.
So that's a perfect lead in to the next question. I do think your point is valid. UCLA is one of the logos of college basketball, without a doubt. And if you're, I still go back to that run Ed O'Bannon and that team had. That kind of woke up the college basketball world. Is there
Titus Edney layup against Missouri? Still remember it.
Absolutely.
I was 11 years old and I remember watching it.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't on the West Coast. I'd have to go back and look at the years. But either way, is there a way for UCLA to win this game? I mean, are they hot or are they good? You asked the question.
Yeah, of course anyone can get hot and shoot some threes. I think they closed a 7-point favorite or 7-point underdog. I'm sorry. So it's within the reach of. I mean, we'll go back to Tennessee's failure. They were a 7.5-point favorite and were never ever in the game.
Absolutely.
Michigan's obviously better than Tennessee, but these odds makers, man, they are good, and so it is within striking distance. I coming into today, as much as I think USC has more talent than UCLA, I was not confident that USC would beat the Zags. I was more confident that UCLA had a chance against Michigan. I ultimately think both favorites win, but I think Nick Cronin's a really, really good coach, and he's got them playing well. I mean, for people that don't watch Alabama basketball, do not discredit how good of a team they just beat and how they like the mental toughness to come back after that 3-point shot and to send it in overtime. Whenever Alabama hit that, I was like, well, they're gonna die now. This was not what they needed. And then they came back and dominated in overtime. And so I was really impressed.
So my question to you, and then you can fire one back at me, is how good of a coaching job has DeJuan Howard done without Isaiah Livers? And does he stay at Michigan? Got to believe NBA people are out there thinking maybe.
Yeah, that's a great question. How good has he done? A+. Whenever So to replace John Beeline with Juwan Howard, I was like, oh my gosh, they just panicked and they just made a huge mistake. And it was going to be just a sell tickets, and their football program was kind of shaky. And I was like, it's Michigan. How can you do that? And then he has exceeded all of my expectations. He's recruited well. He's coached well. They play about as good as you can play as far as using the full 30 seconds and getting a great shot, whether it goes in or not, but almost every possession getting a great shot. Where he goes, I think that depends on what Michigan's commitment is to the basketball program. They've got money, and you look at the NBA, you lose so much power, and one player can get you fired. I know Billy Donovan left, and he doesn't seem to be coming back. Neither does Brad Stevens. But you look at like Jim Beeline, who he replaced. He hated it. Absolutely hated the NBA, that lifestyle. And, I think it all depends on what he wants. I think he can stay at Michigan if he wants to go to the NBA. But do you leave your alma mater if you're successful, unless you have the talent in place? But usually the teams with talent in place don't have open coaching positions. There was, a chance would have been last year when the Clippers fired Doc Rivers to go and take over, Kawhi and Paul George. but do they take a risk on a person with no NBA head coaching experience? So I think he's at Michigan for the foreseeable future, until they get in trouble or until he decides he wants to leave. That seems to be the arc of most college basketball programs these days.
Our buddy Chappie just said that that he underestimated Michigan and he don't see any way Michigan can let Juwan Howard leave after making the Final Four. He can recruit to Michigan. That's why it's such a perfect fit. So I do see. Well, I guess what Chappie's saying, it's that if Michigan, and let's be honest, Michigan's football program, while they're winning 7 or 8 games, outside of a certain team that we all love in Knoxville, it's kind of a butt of a lot of jokes right now, and it's really they can't beat Ohio State. And this is having working with people from Michigan. This is a lot of sense of pride with that state right now. It's this basketball program. I think you're right, Robbie. I think Juwan Howard, unless it's a perfect fit, somebody wins a title and says, I'm done, I want to go retire. Here's an already built team. Juwan Howard, you can have it, and you'll probably win an NBA title. There's no reason to go, no reason to go struggle with that NBA lifestyle. It really seems to be a tough lifestyle to be an NBA coach. I mean, it really does.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest, the colleges can pay just as much, if not more, than NBA players or NBA coaches get paid. And yeah, it is just, you start off, it's an 82 game season. You start off 3-11, you may be packing. And all it takes is, you have general managers. There's just so much. I mean, there's a reason Coach K never left Duke.
There is.
And he had the Lakers job offered to him. If there's one job in basketball you don't turn down, it's the LA Lakers. And he did. And there's a reason for that. Money wasn't, he's richer beyond belief, but yeah, it's just like he has the control. He can have this season he had this year and not have to worry about displacing his family.
That's absolutely a great point.
And I think that goes underlooked on all these coaches. And we'll circle back to the Zags. I looked up most recent Wikipedia facts. Said Mark Few's making $1.8 million at Gonzaga. Rick Barnes makes 4.5 or 4.8 or something. So you're telling me, money's not everything. It is job security, family security. There's a lot of reasons why people don't leave jobs that they want. He's a Michigan guy, and if recruiting comes easy, college is easier than the pros.
Right, and you don't. And the NBA seems to be the hardest group of players to deal with too. I mean, it just seems players have more control. It's a limited selection. It's the rarest athlete in the world is to be an NBA player. But it also seems like that's the place where a player can get a coach fired faster than any place on earth.
A quick example, Phil Jackson was essentially asked to leave both at Chicago and at LA the first time. He got fired or did not renew contracts twice. The guy has 11 championships and the players in him, it doesn't end well in the NBA.
11 championships.
Yeah.
And you don't get your contract renewed. Okay. But, and you always read stories why coaches don't want to leave. For years, every job that came open was rumored to be Chris Peterson, and he would never leave that Boise, Washington. And, he had no desire to go anywhere else in the country. And it's kind of crazy to think that, you or I were given the opportunity to go coach the Los Angeles Lakers, we would be like, we're gone. But for those guys, they have a unique skill. So to plug everybody before here at the top of the hour, I want to plug one more time and make it official, boss. We are here on RiverCity-Media on the Facebook. We're RiverCity-Media on YouTube. We are the iLogic Media Network. That's on Facebook. That's on YouTube. But iLogic Media is the home for our Spotify and our iTunes. And Robbie, it's kind of crazy to be at work and pull up iTunes and see us on it. I'm like, man, I'm going to listen to me. So this network is going to be going a while. We prefer for you to support all the shows. Whatever form works best for you. The one thing we need you to do is just like and subscribe. If you want to watch on Facebook, we're all good with it. Just make sure to like and subscribe to our Facebook page. If you were watching on YouTube, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to Facebook. The more you subscribe, the more it gives us the ability to get more entertainment out. And Robbie, I was talking earlier, today I've watched a cooking show, a stock market show, and now a sports show on iLogic Media. We're pretty eclectic out there. You can see anything from a 10-year-old forecasting baseball to a guy tipping you on stocks in one day. So it's kind of a cool place for us to be.
Tips. Are we able to? Can people comment about what they want to hear more of, what they want to hear less of?
Yo, absolutely, absolutely. After every show is posted, even live in the chat, we can get feedback from you. And we've developed really super fast, Robbie. It's went from we're going to do one show to now we're doing an every week show. Coming within the next 2 weeks, we're going to be able to take live callers on the air. So I don't know what that's going to look like or what it's going to be, but it's definitely going to be interesting to try it.
As long as I can make live calls during football season, then we'll be all right.
Well, I think I know where a bunch of the calls are originally going to start from, and it might be that area over there. What around Decatur, not Decatur, Decker, and in that area, there might be some that area code may be blocked to begin with. So, so getting back to the tournament, anything else you got that you want to talk about the two teams that's already played?
I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting battle. Those kids probably played high school together. Two teams from Texas, not too far from each other. I think it's going to be a battle, and I'm interested to see the offensive rebounding number. Baylor has looked great. I picked Houston, though, to advance, and I think I am going to stick with Houston. I will see what the line has. The line is out, isn't it? Do you know what it is?
I have not looked at it. It's out, but
I'll look it up. Well, what do you think is going to happen? I'll look it up right now.
Well, I'm going to go with this. You hit the magic word. I think whoever wins the boards wins the basketball game. In my heart of hearts, just because pretty much our league bracket, I think you've got it won.
Don't say something like that.
I'm hoping to jinx you there, but I do have another bracket with Chappie and my guys I play fantasy baseball with. We're allowed to put two brackets in, and I'm like the only guy that has Baylor in the winning it. That's kind of in the upper. So, for gambling purposes, I'm pulling for Baylor.
Guess the line.
Baylor by 6.5.
Baylor by 5.
5. That's. I think that's a little low. Just to be honest, I think it's a little low. I'll be interested to see what it moves in between now and game time. While we're there,
sure.
If Zags look like they're up a ton, up 19 last time I looked, what would the line be? The Zags versus Michigan. I'll go first. I'll say 8.5.
This was 8.5. They're covering. They're up 23. I think it's going to go double digits. I think it's going to be open at 10.
All right. UCLA, I said before this, would open at 11. Now I think I would even go up opening at 14.
Oh yeah, 14, 15. I think. What's been the Zags' closest game? They won everything by 20.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, it's not been. I think they had one game that was low teens.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they've been steamrolling. Well, and the lack of travel is it's just keeping this Zags monster rolling. They're in a groove right now. It's like playing hey, we got the court, next team up, street ball kind of thing.
Yeah, Aaron Burt said Baylor 5. That's I can see that. And what'd you say? It was 5 on yours too.
Yeah. So Aaron got it right.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just glad. I'm glad this game's a blowout and people are watching us.
We've had more people staying with us. I expected everybody to be on and off tonight. So moving on down our list a little bit. We're SEC guys, both you and I. And just to kind of close out the tournament for the SEC. What's SEC's grade for this tournament?
Oh, so it's funny. Aaron, who just commented, asked, and he was like, surely you guys aren't talking about the SEC again. I'm like, we're like contractually obligated to talk about the SEC for at least a little bit.
That's how I get my season tickets.
That's a really good question. And I think you look at it beginning of the year, you say there's 8 teams left in the tournament. No, that's incorrect. There's 16 teams left in the tournament. We have 2 SEC teams that are left. Would you take that or not? Yeah, I mean, that's a decent season. But I think it's the ones that were there that kind of downplayed a little bit. It was Alabama and Arkansas. It was Kentucky. It wasn't Tennessee, who were supposed to be there. And while I do wholeheartedly believe Alabama was a championship threat, I never thought Arkansas was. And so we had one team in the Sweet 16 that I thought could win it all. So overall, I would B-, C+. We didn't get as many teams in. Missouri bounced out early. Florida disappointed. Ole Miss didn't make it. B-, C+. It was the conference league was entertaining. I think we either tied or won the Big 12 SEC Challenge, but nothing to write. You're not going to remember this season and be like, oh my gosh, what a great SEC basketball season.
And I do think Kentucky not being there is a place that you start. That Kentucky just wasn't there. They didn't make the tournament,
right?
And by SEC standards, that's a subpar year. Tennessee was clearly the preseason pick by the media as the SEC favorite, and we've talked about it. We won't beat it in the ground. That team had no chemistry and never came together the way we thought it would. I thought Alabama and Arkansas, in a normal year that Kentucky and Tennessee had lived up to the height, this had to be an opportunity to be a real nice SEC year. I think you're exactly right. I was going to give it a C+. Mm-hmm. So, there were some factors. Now, the one thing I will say, I think SEC basketball is getting better. I think overall SEC basketball is pointed in the right direction. And while it'll always be, in most people's mind, a football conference, I think it's kind of shaking that stigmatism of it's Kentucky and everybody else. It was a decent year. Yeah.
Well, anyone that follows college basketball generally gets that it's not just Kentucky and everyone else. And I mean, you compare the SEC to the ACC this year. Duke missing it, Carolina getting bounced the first round, Clemson getting bounced the first round. Did any ACC team make the Sweet 16? Am I missing something? I don't have it in front of me.
Mm-mm.
I don't think they did. And generally, a year when the ACC, I mean, generally the ACC is well represented. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna whoever wins this, and they're gonna be a worthy champion because these kids went through a lot,
Right.
tested all the time, and contact tracing. I would hate to be a college student right now, much less be a college athlete who literally can't do anything.
Right.
So I think it's a worthy champion. I think every champion that's won during COVID has been worthy, and this will be no different. But as far as evaluating things, how they go, let's see what next year holds and then revisit everything.
All right. Good point. Good point. All right, Robbie. I know it's been a great college basketball season. There's more to come, and we'll predict the Final Four here in a minute. You feel like jumping over just a minute for talk a little NFL real quick? You think you
Hey,
can,
I've already started practicing my mock drafts. I'm always ready for some NFL talk.
Well, we are about 30 days away. Matter of fact, we are 30 days exactly. And on Thursday night of April the 29th, we'll have the NFL first round draft. Robbie, the talk of the nation right now is we know or we suspect that 3 quarterbacks are going off the board in the first 3 picks. Let me give you my thoughts a little bit. First of all, I think Trevor Lawrence is clearly the number 1 pick. I don't know if he's the number 1 talent. And I'll explain a little bit. Trevor Lawrence has played at a level that's elite. And if you're telling me he's the number 1 pick, okay, he's the number 1 pick. Zach Wilson is a kid who's played mid-major football, and I don't care what anybody says, BYU is a mid-major conference. And when he touches the football, he's electric. And I'm not sure he don't have more raw tools than Trevor Lawrence. But by far, to the first point, Trevor Lawrence has played at a much higher level, greater competition. I don't know if Wilson's raw ability isn't better than Trevor Lawrence, though. Number 3, I put someone that has caused me about 3 arguments today. I think Mac Jones is a better pro prospect than Justin Fields or Trey Lance. So I have Mac Jones at 3. I have Fields at 4. And I have Trey Lance.
Sorry, I missed Trey Lance. Where do you have him going?
I Trey Lance the 5th overall pick. I've got him going places here in a second, but that was my initial ranking of all 5 of them.
Wait, you think we're going 5 straight quarterbacks?
No. I think 5 quarterbacks in the first 10 picks.
Okay. Quick way. Are they? Is the draft being virtual again this year?
It is. I do think there are going to be some. I know Trevor Lawrence announced that he is not attending. So when I first said, go ahead.
Is there going to be? It's going to be players and family, but just no fans.
That's what I understood it to be.
Gotcha.
So when I first said it, I think Trevor Lawrence has earned the number 1 overall pick, but I'm not sure he's going to end up being the best quarterback. What's your gut reaction to that?
So I wouldn't say you're crazy, but I wouldn't buy a house where you were the GM if you passed on Trevor Lawrence.
Correct. I don't think you can pass him. I think you're right. I just don't know if the upside for Trevor Lawrence is great as some of the other guys.
So my thing is, what is Urban Meyer going? Is he bringing his spread option attack to the NFL? Is he going to adapt more to, even though the spread option attack is prevalent in the NFL now, but quarterbacks still don't. The read option is prevalent, but not the running quarterback that he had with Alex Smith or Tim Tebow or the kid from Ohio. I'm slipping his name. The third stringer that came in, Haskins.
Cardale Jones too.
Oh, yeah, Cardale Jones. That's right. So I don't see you spending a bunch of money on your franchise quarterback to have him run. But I would not. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think you're right. I don't think he can. I think he has to commit to a more NFL-friendly offense. Now, there's a rare Lamar Jackson, but Trevor Lawrence, while a good athlete, he's much more Aaron Rodgers than Lamar Jackson.
Yes, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to get hit. Right. And I don't think you want Trevor Lawrence getting hit. So if I'm drafting number one, I definitely I take Trevor Lawrence and I sleep well at night, and I think that, hey, that's the unanimous consent, and you just go with that. Zach Wilson, I'll admit I didn't see him play a lot during the season. I watched his bowl game. Man, he was impressive. Probably that performance was the best performance I saw all year. And so I will agree with you, and I thought you were going to go the other way. I did not know you were going to say you think Mac Jones is the third best quarterback. Last year, whenever Tua got hurt, Mac Jones came in, and I think it was against in Mississippi State, and then I think there was one of those cupcakes, and then against Auburn. We were in Hawaii at the time, and we were trying to do Hawaii stuff, and it was the Iron Bowl. I didn't really care I want to watch it, but I bet I got so many texts. This is the best game I've ever seen. Then went back and rewatched it, and I was like, this guy's a stud, and he does have the accuracy. And I think I'm going to learn my lesson when I doubted Joe Burrow in the NFL, because I thought it was the 1 year wonder. It was just, got the right coordinator and everything. But Joe Burrow he's played really well in the NFL. If it's me, if I'm sitting there at 3 at San Francisco, I agree. I pull the trigger with Mac Jones.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think the first two is going to be, even though I didn't say it, Lawrence to Jacksonville. That's as done as anything in the world. And it sounds like the Jets, who I thought early on will Rob the Mob wants us to come back with Michigan and Gonzaga comments here in a minute. We'll get to it, Rob. I think Zach Wilson is as done as most things it can be at number 2.
So what do you think, real quick, what do you think? I'm putting in the comments. What do you think the Niners do at 3, and what do your Falcons do at 4? Because that the 4 through 10, I think, is the most intriguing part of this draft. And good God, there's some talent that's there.
We will have a draft day special for everybody. We'll be online at least during the first 10 picks or so, and we'll kind of break down those picks.
Am I on there for that?
Yes, okay. You are. Yes, you see, you're 3R Sport and Chappie will be on that one too. I really think the Falcons need to move back, Robbie. Here's what I think. I think Trevor Lawrence is as sure of a pick as any pick you could make. I think he's the Peyton Manning over Ryan Leaf pick. I think Zach Wilson is the hot guy who you watch him throw the football. He throws it all over the field, and he can throw from different arm angles. One of the guys that I watch a lot on YouTube is Chris Sims, the former Texas quarterback. He does a real good show, and he raves about Zach Wilson's mechanics, his live arm. I've already said I think, and I do think San Francisco come up to get Mac Jones. I think San Francisco moved up to 3 to keep Atlanta from trading with New England at 4 to get Mac Jones. I think the Patriots very much covet Mac Jones.
Well, it fits the Bill Belichick, Nick Saban connection.
Yes.
Belichick always respects what Saban says.
Absolutely. So
and vice versa. But
now they've got them blocked by going to 3, and you give up 3 number 1s and a number 3 to move 1 spot in front of the Falcons. And that just tells me the Falcons are open for business. And I think it comes down to draft day that the Falcons need so much that they can trade back, collect picks. I don't think anybody's going to give them 3 number 1s for the 4 pick. But I really look for somebody like Denver who could use a quarterback. I could see, yes, it was a massive trade. That was a heck of a move by the Niners. Denver can use a quarterback. Carolina can use a quarterback. And somebody's going to fall in love with Justin Fields or Trey Lance, and they're going to pay the Falcons' price to come up to number 4. Justin Fields run a 4.4 today, Robbie.
Yeah.
That's unique.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is where I stand. I'm not a Falcons fan, not a dog in the fight. Sorry, no pun intended. If you're sitting there at 4 and you have arguably the 4th most important position in today's NFL, the tight end, and Pitts is there, are you telling me you're going to pass that guy up for a pick? I mean, I don't know how you do it.
I'm not.
To me, with every quarterback comes with inherent risks. To me, the most sure thing in the draft is Pitts.
I 100% agree with you. And Pitts is not just the best tight end. He's a generational tight end.
Yes.
He's Antonio Gates. He is Tony Gonzalez. I mean, he is one of those freaks. I think the Falcons kind of trade, but I don't think they go far. I think Pitts are still in for the Falcons. I really think the team that might really, really be in love with one of these quarterbacks is the Carolina Panthers. But that leaves you, do you trade within your division? If you're the Falcons and you trade with the Carolina Panthers and the Panthers come up to 4 and draft Justin Fields and he becomes a 10-time All-Pro, man, have you not just cut your own throat?
Oh, yeah. But it depends on who you want. There is no way, unless the Bengals just bingle the heck out of it, if you don't pair Joe Burrow with Pitts, then at 5, then you're just fire everybody again.
Well, I think the Bengals might bingle.
Yeah.
I mean, the team I worry about taking Pitts is I think that there's some teams that are just naturally better at this than everybody else. And somebody's going to figure out that Pitts is a different maker and come up and take him. I mean, I like the quarterbacks. Yeah, Rob, I agree. The Lions could be the guy moving to. I've heard some talk about the Lions and Pitts. Do you think if this was any other year that just a great run of quarterbacks are out there, that anybody would give up a 3 and a 1 to move to the 3rd pick? That's like a rent. That's as much as the Rams gave up to get Stafford, which I ain't figured out either. So it's just a lot, man, a lot.
A few things I think come in play. One, the blueprint, since they ended these huge rookie signing bonuses, if you can get a young stud QB and fill around with talent, then you can do it, and you can win. And because you don't all of a sudden have to pay $80 million for an unproven prospect or a draft pick. I think that's a little bit of it. I mean, if I was a team like, take who's terrible, the Dolphins or the Broncos. Let's take the Broncos. I'd pick a quarterback every year till I hit one, and then Just do it. Keep going. And I think the other big unknown is the salary cap moving forward.
Yeah.
These TV deals that they're signing and are in the process of signing, money's not going to be an option. You can win now through free agency, and with the now we'll see what happens. Brady moved from New England to Tampa. Free agent quarterbacks now have some power. Does Russell Wilson ultimately get moved, or is he stuck? What happens with Deshaun Watson? Is he going to play? Is he going to be able to play? Is he going to be suspended? What happens there? Draft picks, I think it's a win now league, and Tampa Bay just kind of proved that. Let's go all in and let's win now, and then we'll figure it out later. So almost getting to the haves and the have-nots of kind of what baseball has, where you have your teams, they're saying all in, forget the farm system, we're going for it. And then your other teams are saying, hey, let's build, we'll wait, in 5 years we'll be good and see what happens.
And then you see Tampa, it was interesting, and this is my take on what Tampa done. They brought everybody back for Brady. One more run. And Brady and Bruce Arians and Rob Gronkowski, 3 years from now, are going to be sitting on boats going, all right, it's not our problem. But Tampa's going to have so many salary cap problems in 2 to 3 years. And you're going to see that run for the Chiefs starting to end now. They had to let Eric Fisher walk. They had to let Sammy Watkins walk. Next year, I think they have a choice between Hill or Kelsey and who you're going to keep. So your window in the NFL is much smaller.
Well, you look at so Seattle won on Wilson's young contract. Baltimore did it with Flacco. Kansas City did it with Mahomes. That's the model: is get your stud in, get them with talent, and draft picks be damned. Let's get if we have salary cap, we can surround them with proven players, but you have to have that winner.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a fun draft to watch, and of course, I'm doing a mock draft. I'll be releasing it more and more. We've got 4 weeks to the draft. As we transition out of the college basketball, we'll transition into more baseball. We'd have talked a little more baseball tonight, but our boy Raj is kind of he's our West Coast baseball guy, and I was kind of like, if we talk baseball without Raj, it'll break his heart. We'll talk football and basketball. So, Robbie, last thing, and then we'll get off of here tonight. It's been a great show. Going back to college basketball for final thoughts. Can you, and I'll do this.
Wait, what was the question about?
The guy wanted to know is, can Michigan match up with Gonzaga?
It doesn't look like it.
What's that score right now?
It's 74-52.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what it's looking like now is, man, you've got to be perfect. But you know what? The running Rebels that were almost unbeatable lost to Duke. That Kentucky team that was undefeated lost to Wisconsin. That it happens. So I expect the spread to be double digits, but I think Juwan Howard can coach, and I think they're going to get some open looks and limit your turnovers, rebound. It's just basic. You have to play fundamental basketball to beat the Zags.
Yeah, and I think to his question, he's talking about Juwan. I think we all would like to see. Juwan was part of that heartbreaking Michigan team too that got beat when was it Weber threw the ball away?
He called a timeout with no timeout.
Yeah. So seeing Juwan Howard get a ring would be fabulous at some level. Robbie, I'm going to give you. I'll come back with final thoughts, but I'm going to give you final thoughts, and then, let's just announce it. We'll be back next week. We'll wrap up the basketball. Raj will be back with us, and Raj is in Indiana right now at the game. probably right now. I think he tried to call me during it. And I didn't think we could put him on the air, Robbie. I think the bourbon's probably flowing up there
you
right
never
now.
know how many he's had. And,
yeah. So I just went without having Rods do the live spot. But man, if people want us to talk about anything, we kind of cover all areas. And the Masters is coming up, and I'm sure that's something we'll touch on at some level, at least some prop bets on the Masters. I'm excited about it. It's a lot of fun for us. And if you have questions, comments, there's an email on River City that you can send in. You can email me directly. There's a link to a River City email box. So let us know. We'll do. I'm not much on NASCAR, but outside of that, I got you.
That was my closing thoughts.
So, yeah, you need to have closing thoughts on that NASCAR race. I don't know about it, but yeah, I mean, I was kind of like I was expecting more. I don't know. Maybe I was over expecting. But Robbie, what's your closing thoughts?
They're professional drivers. They're not a bunch of yahoos like us out on a dirt track.
I know, man. That's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be us in golf carts.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So if you didn't watch the Bristol dirt track race, Randall obviously wasn't too impressed. I was very impressed. And NASCAR just in general, if you can take time to get into it, it's wonderful. The other takeaway and just the weekend and of the tournament thus far is I'm never taking sports again for granted.
Absolutely.
I remember this time last year, my bag was packed, ready to go to Nashville for that SEC tournament, and then it got canceled. Then this got canceled, and then the Masters, and then everything. And we're doing this because it's just fun, and if it turns into something, it does. If it doesn't, it's still fun. But it's just like gives you something to talk about, and something to be joyful about, and
absolutely.
With all the negativity and divisiveness and all of this noise that's so just bad for people and bad for everyone's mental health, it's nice to just come in and talk and just, hey, if we can entertain one person, 10 people, 100 people, 10,000 people, 1,000,000 people, whatever it is, I'm happy to do it. And I look forward to it every week, and hopefully people will keep tuning in. And yeah, anything you guys want us to talk about, it can be, I think Randall said it before we were on air, and he can ask a question, we can talk for a while.
Yeah. And even NASCAR, I got opinions, even though they might not be popular.
Yeah. I will be, not next week, but from 2 weeks now, I will be, you'll have a beach background behind me. So I'll be on vacation, but I will still, come in and talk, maybe a little intoxicated, but that'll be okay.
There's no maybe. There's no maybe. You'll be very intoxicated. But and that's something that we all as a group, we go to a lot of sporting events, so you're going to get some different feel. I mean, I'm a big NFL guy. I go to a lot of Falcons games. Robbie goes to some Titans games. Robbie goes to a ton of Tennessee basketball games. Raj, being a West Coast guy, he will pick up and go watch his West Coast teams in a heartbeat. So I think sometimes we get a little different angle, Robbie, because we're kind of those guys that like to go be in the middle of it. So maybe we can bring something different. And, you never know. 4 weeks ago, I just decided, hey, this is going to happen, and it happened. And now all of a sudden we got a weekly show, and it is fun. And, like we've had several people comment tonight. We appreciate them getting on here because really, I told Raj the other day, this is no difference than what we would be doing if we were sitting at the bar having a cup of coffee and a couple of beers. This is the same conversation. We'd be probably more colorful, but it's the same conversation we'd be having. So,
I'm saving my curse words till you can start getting fined for them.
Yeah, that's coming. All right. For Robbie Davis, Randall Cunningham, for Raj up in Indiana, y'all pray for Raj. We'll let you know he got home safe.
It's going to be a long drive home.
It is. We will see you next week on 3R Sports. Robbie, I'm out.
See ya.
See ya.